Well, today, folks, we are about to be hitting into the best stage in the whole game, not just because of the forms of how awesome it looks, but it's also about the fact that we will come across into some even more Nintendo Classic references. Greetings, ladies and gentlemen, it is I am the one and only Jewel here, and once again, I am back for the likes of the Mexi Toys videos. And ladies and gentlemen, welcome back for some more of Let's Play of WarioWare D.I.Y, specifically WarioWare Do-It-Yourself for the Nintendo DS version. So, I believe in last Sunday, we did somehow manage able to went into Orbulon stage, focuses on IQ, microgames here and there. I mean, for the most part, it's fine. I mean, it's just about the fact that with that particular boss microgame, you know, with the forms of wily tiles, that particular boss microgame to me, though, is my least favorite, mainly because it is very frustrating. In addition to that, it's also ridiculously slow sometimes. You know, I just really wish if you're able to actually get that particular boss microgame done and over with, but that's besides the point. Well, despite the fact that, on the other hand, I did somehow manage to technically succeed for about a couple of times for that particular boss microgame, ironically enough, but that's besides the point. So, and as far as the actual score tally is concerned, well, it's nowhere near as high compared to the forms of how it does it for Ashley, but regardless of such though, I honestly did try. So either way, so yeah, today for this video is that we are about to be hitting off into the 5th and the final stage in terms of the forms of WarioWare D.I.Y for the DS version specifically in terms of Diamond Software stages. And this time we're going into, oh yes, 9-Volt is here. So you know what that means? It's time for come across into some more Nintendo references for some microgames. So yes, just like the forms of how it does on the previous games, since WarioWare Inc. Minigame Mania for the Game Boy Advance, as well as some future installments as well, like WarioWare Gold, WarioWare Gear Together, in addition to WarioWare Move It, we will come across into ourselves some familiar Nintendo games onto some microgames. So, yeah, I'm very curious to know how that's going to turn out, especially considering for the fact that I was really hoping that we won't have nearly that much trouble, unlike the forms of how it does it on the previous stages though, ranging from Jimmy T, Ashley, as well as Orbulon sometimes on the first run. But regardless of such though, let's see what really happens if we dive into 9-Volt stage. And as you can tell, this particular stage is almost inspired by that we are actually experiencing the actual Super 9-Volt, which is almost inspired by the original Super Mario Bros. So yeah, that's actually pretty swell. And we do already recognize one of those microgames right from the start. Like, for instance, though, the first one we actually done, and that's what appears to be based off from Big Brain Academy for the DS, and then the other one, which appears to be inspired by shooting game based off from specifically Wii Play because of the UI user interface. So, and we also come across into Blue Fight, so yeah, pretty standard stuff. And from here, obviously Super Mario Bros. That we have to avoid that particular paratrooper by simply trying to able to tap the actual touchscreen either left or right, depending on what direction Mario is moving. And speaking of Mario, there's Mario Paint right there, by simply trying to put in a correct colors of those particular 3D shapes, so pretty standard stuff. And here's The Legend of Zelda, specifically The Legend of Zelda Phantom Hourglass. Although, I was originally trying to also include The Legend of Zelda Spirit Tracks, but let's face it though, that this particular game, WarioWare D.I.Y for the DS version, did somehow technically only came out in 2009, back in Japan anyway, so logically though it's about the fact that Spirit Tracks wasn't even out yet at that point in time, at least if I'm assuming so anyway. So anyway, here's Mario Paint again, except this time with Fly Sweater, so yeah, everything else checks out there. And there's Pikmin, despite the fact that I accidentally tossed the red Pikmin into the water, just because if you get the idea, only blue Pikmin can survive in underwater, because unlike the yellow Pikmin, or the red Pikmin especially, they do not know how to deal with water, so that makes it a little bit obvious for that color coding for that particular Pikmin in mind. So anyways, here comes the boss microgame in the 9-Volt stage in particular. and we go back to Super Mario Bros. Again, except this time on a different aspect, which appears to be it takes place in underwater, and your job is to simply try to collect 5 coins, and that's all you have to do while trying to avoid the blooper itself. Because if you're either managed able to fall off, or potentially speaking of, if you swim all the way down or touched by a blooper, that means you'll fail the micro game. So, for the most part, it's pretty easy, and it's also ridiculously quick too, especially because unlike the previous boss micro game, that, my goodness, it took me a very long time to try to figure this out. So, oh yeah, this micro game is obviously inspired by Wii Fit, specifically with that tightrope activity you have to deal with right there, especially because, well, generally speaking, you have to keep your balance throughout the majority of the forms of the tightrope section, so, but either way. So yeah, there are a few things I want to explain to you all for something, and that's what appears to be for the fact that, well, today's date, of course, there is the 28th of June today, in some cases in 2025 today, and as you probably already know, ever since in yesterday, that Maxi has finally managed able to finish up everything in terms of Paper Mario for the Nintendo 64. And my goodness, we've somehow reached ourselves into whopping 50 parts of that particular Let's Play so far. I mean, goodness gracious me, that we actually did done the longest RPG Let's Play so far. I mean, mind you though, it's about the fact that he did say that the next Mario RPG we're about to be expecting to be doing next, and that's what appears to be, potentially speaking of, Mario Luigi Superstar Saga for the Game Boy Advance, or, if not, then perhaps even maybe Paper Mario The Thousand Year Door. Maybe, but either way. Oh yeah, this is Metroid, specifically Metroid Zero Mission, because I can definitely tell from the sprites and in addition to user interface too. So that's something worth noting for. Ah, dang it, I screwed up. Oh well, no big deal, but so far so good anyway, in terms of the forms of encountering those micro games already. And I love the fact that if you go into the actual transition right there, obviously though we able to actually ended up in a tower or a castle, and if you tap the actual touchscreen, it actually gives you a flag as well as some fireworks too. So yeah, that's actually a pretty cool homage to the original Super Mario Bros. Considering for the fact that, well, you know, obviously though we still on 2025 of course, so we still have no idea of when exactly does Nintendo were able to celebrate the 40th anniversary of the Super Mario Bros. Franchise. I mean, sure enough though, we might able to actually hear more about a bunch of merchandise and during at some point later on, but time will definitely tell though, especially because considering for the fact that we're still on June of course, so no matter what though, we can able to expect the hype of Mario fans alike, so yeah, you can get the idea for this point. So, oh, and speaking of which though, I recently found out about the fact that no matter what though, there's going to be yet another video game showcase is going to be coming up, specifically in August, which appears to be THQ Nordic is holding a digital showcase until in August. So no matter what though, I believe we might able to actually hear more about the forms of this potentially the yet another SpongeBob game in the future, which time will definitely tell though, but as you can tell, we somehow gathered every single micro games as far as we do realize, because as you can tell, once you do manage to able to actually get every single micro games in every Diamond software of games as far as I'm aware, that we can able to actually access to yet another thing, and that's what appears to be something to do with the forms of a similar format as the forms of how it does it for one of those endurance tests or something like that, which I suppose that particular conversation can wait for a little while, because as you can see, in terms of micro games we've got Paratrooper, Fly Swatter, Spiny, Star Fox, or should I say in the European version it attempts to call it Star Wing, and Pikmin, and in addition to shooting based off from Wii Play, because of the UI and all that stuff, Ice Climbers, Urban Champ, or should I say Urban Champions as far as I'm usually concerned with, Excite Bike, Yoshi, Tightrope, Greenhouse, and Shadow Shift from Big Brain Academy, Balloon Fight, Metroid, Zelda, Mario Paint, T-Bridge, and that's about it basically, aside from the the boss micro game is actually known as Blooper, based off from Super Mario Bros. Basically. So, yeah, I guess that's all there is to it, basically. Although, sure, you can able to actually replay those micro games at any time, to able to actually compete with your high scores and everything. But let's not get about ourselves at this point right now, because as you can tell, every single character icons is now in full color, so this means we can now able to actually access to one of those extra stages as far as I'm aware. And just like the evolves of how it does on the previous WarioWare games in particular, we need to reach a certain amount of points until we're able to actually unlock something. So I get the feeling for this particular stage right there, I believe we have to reach for about, let's just say, 30 points or something. I mean, mind you though, like I said before, it's been about 6 days ago since I actually have last played this game for sure. But regardless of such though, I get the feeling we have to go through every single micro games in terms of the Diamond software of games as far as I'm aware, that we have to go through this point. So of course, as to be expected, that I believe every single micro games for this particular version of the game specifically is always going to be shuffleized. So I'm sure we'll basically get this though, or got this essentially. So no matter what though, I'm pretty sure the boss micro games also does count in that particular stage as far as I'm aware of. So yeah, that's as far as I can try to able to describe about this particular subject worth noting for. So anyways though, there's also another thing else I would like to explain to you all for something, and that's what appears to be for the fact that I'm afraid to tell you that I might actually decide able to take a break on playing through Sonic Dash for a while, until I was really still hoping that we can able to try to unlock Sheriff Sonic, as far as I do keep on hearing about. I mean, time will definitely tell though for the later days to come. I mean, generally speaking, I was just about the fact that we are still fully appreciated that we've actually got over 110 playable characters now in terms of Sonic Dash already. I mean, that reminds me, why can't we just able to actually have Wave the Swallow or Storm the Albatross will be added onto Sonic Dash? I mean, that would be nice, rather than just the forms that try to stuck onto the forms of Sonic Forces Speed Battle to me though. I mean, despite the fact that it's been ages ago since I actually have last played, or last experienced, you know, Sonic Forces Speed Battle, because, let's face it though, I simply give up on the actual competitive side of things in terms of online experience, apart from a few exceptions, which is of course, not only Mario Kart 8 Deluxe for the Switch 1, but even nowadays with Mario Kart World for Switch 2. Well, mind you though, I keep on hearing about the fact that there's a lot of rage going on in terms of the forms of the online experience for Mario Kart World. To be more accurate though, not only for the sake of the forms of the actual regular Grand Prix mode or something like that, but in addition to the forms of the Knockout Rally too. Like, there are so many aggressive players out there throughout the course of the forms of Mario Kart World, so I mean, relatively speaking, I was about the fact that I did manage to keep on practicing the forms of certain skills on my spare own time before I able to actually, you know, try to jump into the online experience as far as I'm usually considered with. So sometimes though, practice makes perfect sense before you're able to try to master everything. So yeah, you get the gist of it. So. And suffice to say though, is about the fact that, you know, that's as far as I can try to able to explain about the forms of today's subjects personally though. I mean, as far as what Maxi has already pointed out, since in Journey Calls have been a Paper Mario Let's Play, obviously though is about the fact at this point in time, until next, specifically, next Tuesday and next Wednesday and Thursday especially, that we might able to actually decide to able to have an uploading schedule break. Well, apart from by the end of the June month, as far as we can definitely tell. Well, let's face it though, let's not get of ourselves at this point right now, because as you can tell, I'm still have to concentrate on this particular process when it comes to likely trying to reach a certain amount of points in order to able to progress for, you know, unlocking things here and there. So, I mean, like I said before, I'm probably not going to go through every single mode in this particular version of the game, mind you, just because no matter what though, they're just there for the sake of the forms if you're trying to make your very own micro games for the first time, despite the fact that, you know, it's a shame that the online functionality discontinues since in 2014, as to be expected. So, anyway, so let's get on to the next boss micro game, which is based off from Jimmy T1, which, come on! I'm doing very bad at this one in particular, which, let's face it though, is most likely because I wasn't paying attention, you know? Although, generally speaking, it was about the fact that, well, thankfully though, these will be the final time we're going to be able to be seeing the boss micro games in this Let's Play, up until whenever we get onto the WarioWare counterparts specifically until next month, like I said before. So there might be a couple of times though about the fact that, well, you get the idea for that point. So anyway, also talking of which though, in regards to the forms that there's actually yet another Japanese exclusive micro game that was found on 9th stage, and that's what it appears to be inspired by. Let's just say Maria Samjo, which I do apologize for that particular mispronunciation of that particular micro game on the Japanese version of WarioWare D.I.Y. I mean, let's face it though, it's probably because I'm more attempt to referring to as the English version of the forms of some of these micro games in particular. I mean, that's besides the point. So, and I get the feeling we did somehow reach our score targets, which if I'm assuming so anyway, we can now able to actually proceed into the next stage, at least as far as we do know of. Well, mind you though, is about the fact that there's also some other unlockables we can able to come across into, but we'll save that particular discussion once we're able to actually done with the forms of those 2 stages first. So either way, time for a boss micro game, and this time it's going to be, well, suffice to say, we're going back into Ashley's boss micro game with Bread Trap again. So dang it, I screwed up. Oh well, I was really expecting to reach ourselves for about 40 points, but oh well, beggars can't be choosers, I guess, especially depending on my touchscreen skill issue. But regardless of such though, yes, we did somehow reach our target score, and now we somehow unlocked the that red capsule with a bit of a devilish face on the actual icon, and that's what appears to be ultra hard. So this means about the fact that, as be expected, everything else goes all speedy and everything, and conveniently enough though, unlike the previous stage, that we did somehow come across into ourselves the boss micro games, in the ultra hard stage right there, I don't think it's literally possible to able to come across into ourselves boss micro games or anything else like that. It's all basically just very standard micro games that we have to experience with. So now I'm pretty sure in order to able to unlock the last few bits in terms of the forms of the actual DIY shop mode, and that's what it appears to be for the fact that we do need to reach for about 15 points in this stage, so at least if I'm assuming so anyway. So either way, let's just go ahead and concentrate on this for the sake of time right now, just because if I get distracted on multitude of things, obviously though I might have to restart the entire process again, which thankfully though, it's not too shabby for the most part, unlike the forms of how it does it on one of those modes in WarioWare Smooth Moves, where you have to deal with the actual, like, well, let's just say one of those modes called Sudden Death, where you only have 1 health, and obviously though, if you miss one of those micro games, then you simply have to restart every aspect again. So, well, generally speaking, I was about the fact that, well, luckily though, you have to go through, like, 10 points in order to able to actually get into thrilling building for the sake of the falsely elephant buildings, at least as far as we do know of. So, but I digress. Oh, nice. Nicely done right there. In fact, we're actually getting very close already. So, yeah, for the most part, it's pretty easy, all things considered, despite I need to be, like, super duper quick about it, and also because the touchscreen controls can sometimes feel a bit hit and miss sometimes, but regardless of everything else though, we should able to actually get this. So, and we somehow reached ourselves into 15 points now, so I didn't pay attention to that spiny over there, but that's okay. So anyway, oh, that was a close one. Dang, I messed that up. Oh well. Oh jeez, it's getting ridiculously fast as far as I do realize. Let's keep on tapping. There we go. Oh, okay. Oh wait, that was close. Dang, I screwed it up on that little bow hair tie. Oh well, no big deal, but at the very least we did reach a certain amount of points to unlock not 1, but 3 other modes in the center, which appears to be all mixed up variants of some of these other modes, ranging from Shuffle, Ultra Hard, as well as from that, there's also the Mirror Mode version as well, which I suppose we should probably show that off, potentially. I mean, mind you though, as you can tell, that I haven't got that much DIY micro games to show off, plus it's mainly because no matter what though, our first attempts didn't go too well for me though, just because of how the fact I just want to get the tutorial stuff out of the way before you're able to actually dive into the main stuff, which is of course the regular micro games you do get if you do manage able to get the game physically, that is. Because then again though, it's a shame that this game never saw light of day on the actual virtual console lineup for the Wii U. Well, this is mainly because no matter what though, as I said this before, the online service has shut down, which as you probably would expect. Alright, so for the time being though, let's go and show off the mirror mode variation of All Mixed Up, or Mix All pretty much, which, kind of think about it though, it's like the equivalent to mirror mode from any other Mario Kart games, likely for instance though, with extra mode in Mario Kart 64, and the majority of the mirror modes from Mario Kart Double Dash all the way up to nowadays with Mario Kart World, at least as far as we do know of, although I still haven't exactly unlocked mirror mode on my spare own time on Mario Kart World. I mean, mind you though, it's about the fact I've already done most of those accomplishments for the sake of the forms of free roam mode, but all I need to do is just basically trying to go for that particular knockout rally, and maybe potentially trying to go back on experiencing Grand Prix mode, but with a different difficulty, likely 150cc or something like that. I mean, the biggest difference is this time around though, as far as I'm aware of, that I do believe it is definitely possible that you can able to actually try to get mirror mode, depending on what color of the cup you're going to be getting. Likely for the bronze cup, or the silver cup, or the gold cup, essentially. I mean, I still haven't exactly thought about something for myself, you see. So, I mean, still, no matter what, though, that Mario Kart World did already came out just recently for about a couple of weeks back, so... But still, no matter what though, is about the fact I'm pretty concerned too that we've only just got about, well, let's just say, we've got about exactly 19 more days to go until Donkey Kong Bonanza for the Switch 2 is going to be on its way, and meanwhile, in terms of the forms of other games in particular, such as for instance though, with Tony Hawk's Pro Skater 3 Plus 4, I'm pretty sure that if I can recall correctly, that we've got about 13 more days to go. And meanwhile, in regards to the forms of Super Mario Party Jamboree, Nintendo Switch 2 Edition plus Jamboree TV, I'm pretty sure that we've only got about, let me think of something. Oh yeah, 26 days to go? At least as far as I can get a math going. I mean, I'm pretty sure I'm right after all, because of all that. Well, I did the actual math earlier, so despite the fact I somehow messed up on that particular Fly Swatter micro game, which, again, truth be told, is based off from Mario Paint, so you can get the idea for that point. So, anyways, let's not mess this up with this micro game this time, and thankfully we succeed. So, nicely done. But, yeah, for the most part, that's as far as I can try to able to discuss upon for this point, folks. I mean, I would have liked to explain more, in terms of something else that's been happening so far. I mean, aside from the fact that the next, game showcase is going to be on its way until in August, which I'm not exactly sure when exactly, but I will able to point it out once I do manage to able to try to succeed some micro games. I mean, for the most part though, that the amount of points we're going to be getting is for bragging rights. So, anyway, as far as I'm aware, that I get the feeling that the actual digital showcase for THQ for 2025 is going to be happening, ironically enough, in the very beginning of August, specifically the 1st of August. So, I'm pretty sure that's going to be on, let's just say, on Saturday, or no, it's not Saturday, it's, ironically enough, on Friday. So, because I did recently check on my calendar, so, relatively speaking, I was about the fact that, speaking of calendars though, that at some point by the end of the month, I do need to change my page of my calendar, which, for those of you who don't know, that we still got ourselves the glorious Sonic the Hedgehog calendar for 2025, which does manage to contain some very cool, you know, little cool pictures of Sonic's characters and stuff like that, which at the moment right now that we're still on June, of course, and the actual image has been shown right now for the sake of defaults the 2025 calendar for Sonic the Hedgehog, because I already know for a fact that there's actually multiple variants of the Sonic calendars for 2025. Like, the one we've got right now is obviously a little bit pricey compared to the defaults of how it does it for the other one back in the day, that is, for the sake of defaults of it last year, that is, in 2024, but that's besides the point. So, it does manage to show us not only Amy Rose, but in addition to Rouge the Bat and Blaze the Cat. Basically all of the female characters for the Sonic universe, apart from one exception, sadly, and that's of course Cream the Rabbit, which, either way, I'm still very appreciative about the fact that Cream the Rabbit is finally back onto racing games, since, let's just say, Sonic Free Riders for the Xbox 360, for the sake of the forms of how the fact that, well, usually that Cream is now finally playable in Sonic Racing Cross Worlds at the very least, so... But that's as far as I can try to able to describe about that. And in addition to that though, I also did somehow found out there's going to be some even more stages will be added for Sonic Racing Cross Worlds, ranging from, let's just say, cyberspace, based off from Sonic Frontiers, at least according to the forms of the actual Wikipedia, for the sake of the forms of the Sonic Wikipedia page, so I'm guessing that might be a little bit more of a substance to it. But anyway, let's get back onto the forms of Bread's Trap, and let's not make that mistake again, but thankfully we succeed this time. So I really highly doubt about the fact that in regards to the forms of Mirror Mode in particular, I really can't guarantee for the fact that we will come across into ourselves not only Wily tiles, but in addition to blooper boss micro games here and there, because it can take a very long while to able to get to that point. So, and of course, just like the forms of how it does on the regular stages of themselves, obviously though, except in the ultra hard stage, basically though, if you do complete the actual boss micro game, you get yourselves an extra life back. So that's always something. So. Ah, dang it, I messed it up. I might have overthinking about it too much. And of course we got an Excite Bike here. And of course this puzzle is very simple, self-explanatory, because we have no issues with that whatsoever. And trying to able to actually breathe for a moment for the swimming stuff. I mean, yeah, for the most part, I wasn't predicting that. Oh well, no big deal. The mirror mode was there in case if you want able to have some bit of different variety when it comes to likely for microgames alike. But apart from those side things though, they're just simply like flipped over versions of the actual microgames you've already experienced, including the ones in D.I.Y. Games themselves too. So yeah, everything else will be pretty much accounted for in terms of the forms of D.I.Y. shop basically. So of course you can also check out music and comics if you wanted to, but I don't feel like trying to show those off for the sake of the forms of trying to able to show off every single aspect in terms of this version of the game in particular. So I suppose, well, suffice to say, we are basically simply done. In terms of D.I.Y. shop, despite the fact that I would have normally trying to show you guys the D.I.Y. games themselves, but ultimately though, it's just I'm not very great when it comes to making my very own, specially made, micro games, all stages from Mario Maker, but that's besides the point. So with that being said folks, is that we get endings of this point right here. So join me tomorrow for more Let's Play of WarioWare D.I.Y. or WarioWare Do-It-Yourself for the Nintendo DS, is that we're about to show off the last few bits of this entire version of the game. Like, let's just say, any other stuff, I think. So I'll see you guys until tomorrow. Later, fellas.